Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's me, Rory Paddock, 4 picks from thepaddock.co.uk, coming to you live on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. I'm going to be ignoring all the action at Doncaster and Kelso and Kempton. That's all covered, that's all on ITV. And if you're having a bet on any of those ITV races, I think there's 9 in total, then head on over to picksfromthepaddock.co.uk, where we preview every single race, shown live on ITV. Also got play spot selections for Doncaster. If you head on over to our Twitter or on our Facebook, we've also got play spot selections for the Curragh and tonight's meeting at Wolverhampton. But mentioning of the Curragh, there are 2 meetings this afternoon that are away from UK soil. The flat is well and truly back. We've got action over in Ireland, as I've said, from the Curragh, but also what used to be and is still one of the richest races in the world, the Dubai World Cup meeting is over in Meydan at Dubai, and I've got selections on the card from the UAE as well. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it, because my first selection actually comes in half an hour's time. It's on the 12:20. It's the first race on the card over in Dubai at Meydan. So let's bring that up and let's have a look at what we've got. So we can see it there, the current favourite on the card in the 12:20 is Alnafud for Brent Samar. You see it's the 1 mile Godolphin Mile Group 2 contest. Obviously, we've got former course winner Mabaka there for Doug Watson. Doug Watson, obviously a name to keep an eye on when it comes to the cards at Meydan. Obviously, it's an international field. Got Bankit in there. Secret Ambition from the same yard as the favourite. However, and I know it's not exactly going to take a genius, but the all royal blue silks of Godolphin, it's going to be basically this is their sort of day in the card where they hope to scoop the lot. And I think Storm Damage at around 15-2 is massively overpriced. For punters looking for a bit of an each-way play, it does look an open race. The favourite is a clear favourite, but of the rest, it's very wide open. Won its last 2 races, did it very impressively, will handle the trip. Absolute maestro with French jockey Christophe Soumillon in the saddle, and that should go very well indeed. Now, don't rush to back it. I want to tell you what and how you should be backing these horses that I'm going to give selections for. There's 6 in total, so please stay tuned. But the first one to note is Storm Damage in the 12:20 at Meydan. Later on the card, we are going to head to, if I can find it, let's have a look. Quickly rifle through these. If I can find the horse, which I probably won't be able to, but I'll try and be as professional as I can. Here we go. It's the 3:20. We have to wait 3 hours, but it's the 1 mile, 1 furlong Dubai Turf Group 1 race. Schnellmeister is the clear favourite. We've got William Haggis, who sends over at Maharfith over there. Lord North, who's fresh from a run on the all-weather with Frankie Dettori, obviously representing John Gosden. And although obviously Schnellmeister is going to be pretty tough to beat, I'll be honest, and Maharfith obviously has form in the book, I know that it's the start of the season, but I do, at this meeting, I do prefer a horse that's had a run under its belt, e.g. Lord North. We've got Panther Lassa there for the Japan. Saffron Beach, 175 days on the sidelines. Alpha Reek is a course and distance winner, who perhaps looks a bit too big at 33-1. But the one I'm going for is the US-based Colonel Liam. Won his last race 56 days ago, would be fresher than most of these. Did most of his winning last season as well, had a really decent run, albeit ending with an 8th there. But Colonel Liam with Irad Ortiz Jr. on, Todd Pletcher, who's obviously done very well at this meeting previously. Yes, it's drifted like the proverbial barge, but I think 16-1 is starting to get way too generous. So for the 3:20 at Meydan, Colonel Liam would be my selection. But again, don't rush to back it. Wait till near the end of the video, and I'll be able to tell you how you should be backing these horses. Now, it'd be foolish to ignore the big race of the day. it is the final race on the card. It's the 4:30 Dubai World Cup Group 1 contest. Obviously, it's on the dirt. Just over 5.3 million to the winner, which would be lovely. Life is Good should take all the beating. I'd be foolish to say otherwise. However, I'm hoping that Midnight Bourbon could potentially sneak into the money. Wasn't that far behind Country Grammar last time out, went third. I think it has the ability to reverse the placings. Obviously, Country Grammar for Bob Baffert and Frankie deserves a ton of respect, as does Hot Red Charlie, who's a course and distance winner. I think the only one of 3 course and distance winners, in the field. So Hot Rod Charlie there. Look, I actually think it's quite an open race this year. The favourite is a clear favourite, but again, as with an earlier race, the rest of the field looks really open. I think Midnight Bourbon, all right, he's not the most prolific winner, but he's a very consistent type who always finds a way to get in the money. Tends to find 1 or 2 too good, but I'm not worried about that. If he finds 1 or 2 too good, that's all right, because I think he can certainly finish in the placings. Wouldn't be my idea of the winner, but you know what? I'm looking elsewhere other than the odds-on favourite, and I'm going to go Midnight Bourbon for Jose Ortiz, who could finish in the money today. Away from Meydan, obviously we've got the Curragh over in Ireland, and again I want to start with the first race on the card. It is it's a maiden race. Everyone's making their seasonal debut. 2-year-olds, the youngsters are out, and it looks to be, according to the betting, a 2-horse race. Finscale Go Dio and Midnight Toker. I'd be very shocked if the winner didn't come from that pair. Obviously, you've got to take a bit of a tentative approach when you're looking at 2-year-olds that are all unraced in a race like this, because obviously it could be an absolute shock on the cards. Something comes out that's done better than we'd expect, perhaps doesn't have the right connections, but I can't see that being the case here. The winner comes from the top 2 in the betting, and it's whether or not we go for Finscale Go Dio or we go for Midnight Toker. And I'm going to think the £5 weight difference should be enough to ensure that Jim Bolger's horse finishes or starts its career, with a win. Also, I do have a bit of a soft spot for Finscale Bio. Any of her horses I tend to have a bit of affection for. And the fact that he's out, it's from Kingman as well. Beautifully bred, as all of them are, in a race like this. But we'll go Finscale Go Dio to finish in the top 2. And I think that's pretty certain. We then skip to the next race, which is the 1:56. Also, the times on the races at the Curragh are ridiculously confusing. Why it can't be a 5 or a 10 past or to the hour, I don't know. But anyway, 1:56, that extra minute obviously means something. We've got a 5-furlong handicap sprint. Looks a really decent race. And the one that I like the look of is Swift Flight. Slight concern is that he's not had a recent run, but to be honest with you, other than the favourite, that seems to be the case across the board, except for Primo Yomo and Lats Mad, but Lats Mad did very little last time out. So most of them are in the same sort of boat. And I just think at the age of 4, he's perhaps got more room to progress than a lot of these. Comes from decent connections who are pretty decent when it comes to their sprinters as well. Bred out of Fast Country, out of Justice Angel, out of the Dark Angel. Bred well. Again, relatively consistent. His last run was pretty poor, but at 8-1, I think it's a decent price in what was a relatively competitive race. And I know it's going to be really boring, but the 3:41, if Mother Earth doesn't win that, I will eat my hat. Again, it's 4-9. You're not going to break the bank, but if you're going to add it with other horses and doubles, trebles, and so on, I think that's probably the way to go for the Group 3 on the card at the Curragh. Obviously, we've got the Lincoln at Doncaster. We've also got the Lincoln at the Curragh as well, the Irish Lincoln. And if you want selections for that, make sure you head on over to either Facebook or Twitter, and you will see my place pot picks across the card from the Curragh. Also, just on a side note, in the 5:21, there is a quartet of horses that I do like the look of. So, again, head on over to actually my personal Twitter at RKP12588, and I'll post them on there as well. Again, always free of selections. We do not charge. But before I let you go, let's have a look at the selections that I like the look of today. get rid of that, and you can see my beautiful face, you poor, poor folk. But international racing selections for the afternoon. These are the 3 from the Curragh that I like. And we've got these 3 for Meydan. Now, I know that some people look at when I've given selections like this with horses to place, they'll go, hang on a minute, how do I find that bet? So on and so forth. Now, I personally bet with Paddy Power, so what I thought I would do is I would show you how to do this. So we've logged into Paddy Power. We can see we'll use the 156 from the Curragh as an example. We can see there, obviously, across the top, we've got win or each way to be placed, betting without, forecast and tricast, money back. If you click on the to be placed one there across the top, we'll click on that and you can see there horses to be placed in the first 5, to place in the first 4, or to place in the first 3. Obviously, in this race, I ended up going for Swift Flight. So I went to be placed in the first 5. Swift Flight is even money to finish 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Obviously, doesn't change, and you can add that to your bet, and you can put that in doubles, trebles, accumulators, whatever you want to do, back it on singularly. And it's just an alternative. They always tend to offer an extra 1 or 2 places more than the market would. And it's one of those whereby if you do like an outsider or a horse at a price and you're not confident, or you're not, I guess you don't want to throw money away backing it to win because you probably think it might not win, but for place terms, and you get extra places, again, if you add that up in, say, a lucky 15 or some sort of accumulator bet, I personally tend to do things like that. And I just think it's a different angle when approaching having a bet in the races. So again, if you're looking for those prizes, I'll bring up those selections. So grab your pen and paper. I'll put them back on the screen for a moment. Finn's going to go DO to finish in the top 2 at 4 to 5. Swift Flight, even money for the top 5, and Mother Earth on the nose. Then at Meydan, Storm Damage to finish in the top 5, even money. Colonel Lee and top 6 finish at 10 to 11. Midnight Bourbon for a top 4 finish at 11 to 10. I've personally done them in trebles, 4-folds, 5-folds, and the 6-fold accumulator. Those are my bets. As always, pop in the comments below, whether you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, what your best bets for the day are. If you want a flutter and you want some selections for any of the 9 races on ITV, head on over to picksfromthepaddock.co.uk. Myself and the rest of the team have previewed all the races. Also, make sure you check out our Facebook and Twitter. Obviously, we've given place pot picks for the Curragh, Doncaster, and Wolverhampton card tonight. As always, any likes, comments, and shares, very much welcome. I've been Rory Paddock. Fingers crossed, touch wood, and good luck if you follow.